once again, a very good morning, good evening, good afternoon to you, wherever you might be in the world. Welcome to the channel, or welcome back. Thank you for being part of my journey. In today's video, while it's a little bit late, and I do apologise for that, I'm going to be giving you a little bit of extra information to do with crystals, actually, because there's been a lot happening with crystals. I did say last week, of course, if you watched that video, that there was potentially going to be some interruptions for me with progress on the channel and on the website for a variety of reasons, which I will talk about in a little while. But before I get into the content of the video today, just a reminder that you are invited to make your comments, to put your responses up, your own experiences, and that all of my videos that I put up, if you're new to the channel, you won't know, I put descriptions, timing stamps, so you can jump to the area of interest for you. You may have just heard my phone going off. There's a reason for that, and I apologise for any interruptions that we might get along the way, and I'll just push on through it. Also, just a reminder too, if you like any of the content or you find that it's useful or beneficial to you in any way, please do consider giving us a thumbs up, because that would be really appreciated. Anyway, on with the video now. So the first thing, of course, is my apology to you guys for being late and being a little bit complacent with loading up the crystal content, the crystal magic last week. I didn't do it. And of course, I'm late with today's video for the Sunday yarning. Once again, I apologise for that. I've got a lot happening at the moment. And I'm hoping now that I'm through most of the distractions, shall we say, that I've been encountering throughout the last week. In fact, actually the last probably even couple of months, to be honest. Now, one of the happy and delightful distractions for me this week has actually been the birth of my third grandson. Now, as you can see here, he is just absolutely adorable. And as I said to my daughter, oh my goodness me, I think you've given birth to a baby Buddha, because he just is so well-rounded and plump and perfectly formed. And I love this photo of him, so sharing it with you. He arrived on Friday anyway, so that was a bit of the excitement there for us. I'm just looking at this photo as I talk to you, and I just think, oh goodness me, he's just such a classic. He's like a little old man there resting up. He's exhausted. You know, this was taken on Saturday. So just for a little bit of fun, because I've got the new baby, and one of the really big things for my daughter and I when it came to little Aiden being born was that we were looking at numerology, because she had to have a cesarean. She's had cesareans in the past because of Caesars and that kind of thing. Just ignoring that phone again. But anyway, we were discussing well, is the 12th a good day? And I've gone, oh, you could have a better day for 2025, because what this means is, from a numerological perspective, he is a day number of a 3 and a ruling number of 3. Now, of course, I've got all of that stuff on, it's basically a workshop on the numerology playlist. But having said that, the numerology, when we talk about day numbers and ruling numbers, they're not standalone. You've got to, and this is what I said to my daughter as well, is you've got to look at the other factors, such as the birth chart, and if there's any arrows, and whether there's multiples of numbers on, such as we see here. He's actually got 3 2s in his birth number, stuff like that. But anyway, it's an absolutely lovely chart when I look at it. And of course, he's going to be a little Virgo. I just wanted to put out there, because we've got to have a sense of humour with this, is he was born early, and they knew 4 weeks before he was born that he was actually going to be a big chunker, because he was 7'3" in the scans, they estimated. And of course, he was born well over 8 pounds. And so jokingly set aside, we were like, oh, maybe he can be born on the 11th. He's only going to be putting on an ounce a day for the next 4 weeks. He's just going to be getting bigger and bigger, which is all true. But as it happened, she was booked for the Caesar on Friday, and he actually started to come on his own anyway. She thinks that he does, which just confirms to me that, even if they're born on a Caesar, they come on the perfect day at the perfect time. So the thing to acknowledge, though, is, or that I just wanted to mention, personality-wise, because I'm going to go into this with my daughter. I'll do him up a proper numerology, if I can speak, chart, which talks about the fact that, he's going to be a very analytical and thinking type person. He's got both aspects of the 3, which is about analysis and that kind of thing. one of the lessons for him will be to actually put boundaries in place and to be able to say no. But if you've looked at the 3 video, the numerology video on ruling number 3s, they tend to be quite comedic and very social. And this is reinforced with his numerology chart as well. But the other thing too is that he's got the arrow of determination, and that's where you've got a 1, a 5 and a 9 on your birth chart. And part of the life lesson for that is, now we've got the dog going off like a firecracker, hello. But anyway, part of the lesson for the arrow of determination is to really, we all have that lesson to learn of when to hold on and when to let go. But where a person's got an arrow of determination, they can be perceived to be stubborn because they keep pushing through past the point of, where it becomes painful. And how would I describe this? Basically, the lesson of the arrow of determination is just because you think it's the right path for you doesn't mean that it is. And when you start hitting those brick walls again and again and again, there is that fine line between when to hold on and when to let go. So this is going to be one of the lessons for this little man. And the other thing is too, that the more 2s you've got on a birth chart, the more sensitive a person can be, which can actually be hypersensitivity. So that means that part of the role of a parent for a child that's got 3 2s or more on their birth chart will be to actually teach them the skills for managing their emotional state and how to respond to them. The thing with these 3 2s as well, basically, is that they're more sensitive to other people's feelings. There's going to be a level of over empathizing, shall we say. So then if there was a negative associated with this, is as they mature, because they're so sensitive to other people's emotional responses, if they're in pain and suffering, they end up shielding themselves. They put up quite a strong shield around themselves to protect themselves emotionally. So they can become a little bit defensive and impulsive. And this is why we have to work with these people as parents to teach them these, the need for boundaries, I guess. Children with the 3 2s, they also can be really good at mimicking, if that's, they have a natural flair for acting, shall we say. So we need to help them build their self-confidence. Having said that, though, the combination going together in this chart is we've got somebody that's got certainly the potential, perhaps more so than other people, to have a really humanitarian conscience, looking at the bigger picture as opposed to the smaller picture. But also, if you're grounded and practical, you can look at this chart and have a bit of a laugh, because you can see that the strongest numbers for him is actually on the mind plane. So he's going to be a very, very analytical little person. Then when we look at the spirit plane, it's easy to see, when we talk about spirit and feelings are basically interrelated, but we can see here that it adds up to 11, but an 11 breaks down to a 2. So you can see he's going to be more of a thinker than a feeler. He would be the kind of person as an adult that will go, well, I think, as opposed to, well, I feel. And certainly when it comes to physical activity, as much as he's a big buffer, he probably would be the manager as opposed to the worker, based on what we're looking at on the chart. So just a bit of fun there. And just a reminder, you can work out your own, you can work out your children's, simply by looking at the numerology playlist. So another apology that I owe to people, and I've actually in between times addressed some of these SMSs, it's all fine, is actually the tarot, the community group. I made a big mistake and didn't pick up on it. And my mistake was that while I advertised, and I have my promotional material saying that it's the second Wednesday of every month, when I did up the tickets for this last event, I apparently had them set for the Tuesday night. So unbeknownst to me, I've had, the first person that I had turn up happened to be the tarot reader that was from Pinjarra. And she called me from the centre to say, hey, I'm here and no one's there. And I was like, oh my goodness me. So I said, look, come over my house because I'm just around the corner, as you do. So I had a lovely night with her. But in between times, another 4 people turned up and apparently got access to the building. So they went in, and by all accounts, I've spoken to them after the fact. They were new. I haven't met them before. But either way, they apparently had an enjoyable time. So hopefully they will be able to come on the Wednesday. Of course, I had to apologise most humbly. What was humorous with that is that I actually have to book and pay for that room. So the fact that I used it 2 nights in a row is fairly amusing, but the centre has actually been very good to me and kind, and they didn't double bill me. But either way, then we met on the Wednesday night, and that ended up being a great night. There was only about 7 of us, but it was really nice. And for those people that have been before, Karen attended. If you're Karen is a medium. She doesn't do it professionally. She has done it professionally in the past, but she no longer does it. You know, a lot of the time we pick up these skills and drop them because of what's happening in our life. And Karen's got a lot of family stuff happening at the moment, so her focus is not on delivering mediumship readings. But either way, she came along, and that turned out to be a wonderful blessing because 2 people that attended on Wednesday night managed to get a mediumship reading, which was, just absolutely lovely. So my apologies for last week. And just a reminder, it is every second Wednesday of the month. I may at some point in time expand it to Tuesday because Tuesday seems to be more convenient to people. But for now, it will remain as the Wednesday. And I look forward to catching up with you there. Oh, I have actually also advertised and promoted it. So if you want to go and check the links, let me know if I've made a mistake. My head might not be in the right space right now. So I think it goes without saying, the fact that I've been so all over the shop last week means that nothing has happened with the web development and the upgrades. And so the previous goals remain the same. And by that, I mean updating the chakra content and getting the centering and grounding stuff up there, as well as spiritual hygiene. Now, what was interesting, when I was spending some time with Sam, who was the reader from Pinjarra that came up the other night, we were discussing the chakras, and of course her understanding is the same as mine. And we actually concluded that a lot of people must be going over to ChatGPT to get their content. And this is why we're seeing a lot of misinformation, I feel, on the internet at the moment, particularly in regard to the higher heart chakra. So of course that's going to be my priority this week, now that all the other stuff is done, is to actually complete the chakra content, then get onto the centering and grounding stuff. Because if you're going to do any form of energy work or psychic development work, you've got to ensure and really focus on remaining grounded as part of staying psychologically, mentally and spiritually healthy. So as far as the crystal magic goes, of course, you will have seen there hasn't been a lot happening on the YouTube channel. And this is obviously because it really hasn't been my priority over the last week, of which I, am suffering just a tad of guilt over it. But at the same time, on a positive, I've actually done a lot of purchases. So I've managed to find suppliers, and I've got some on the way, and hopefully it will be available for the next community event. I've got some Iolite coming, some Tanzanite. I've managed to find a supplier of blue lace agate tumbles, nice quality, I believe. Hopefully it will look like what I saw online. I've managed to get a large supply of smaller celestite clusters, because a lot of people like celestite clusters, but it can be up there and be a bit pricey depending on where you're getting it from. I've got some celestite spheres coming and some garnet palm stones. I have merlinite palm stones coming as well. A lot of these crystals I haven't done videos on yet, but I will be doing videos on them. I've got African green emerald spheres coming, and I've also got some Kambamba, if I can pronounce it, Kambamba jasper palm stones. They're coming too. If you watched my video on Seraphinite, you'll know that this is up there as one of my favourites. And by accident or default, I was looking at other crystals, but I found a supplier of some really beautiful Seraphinite, or if you pronounce it as Seraphinite. It's a stunning crystal that I absolutely love. Now, of course, I've got my cluster, which is of the rough. It's single facet polished on one side to show off the colours and this kind of thing. But anyway, I've ordered a couple of spheres, not a lot because it is so pricey. And the intention was to have it there to give or sell to other people. Anyway, where I'm going with this is the quality of the stuff is that good that I'm actually going to keep one for myself. It's this really rich dark green, and the feathering, the white feathering that is on the crystal as well, the seraphinite, is just absolutely stunning. So my collection is going to be expanded through that little purchase, shall we say. I've got more coming as well, but I can't think what they are right now. So this week, bearing in mind the nature of the purchases, I thought I would just actually speak about something that's called the Synergy 12 crystals, which is very interesting. I heard about it many, many years ago, and obviously I wanted to try it, or try them, because you can see here, this is the list of them. Now, I didn't know where this concept of Synergy 12 came from. But you can see at the moment my purchases are running along the lines of trying to get some of these up. Tibetan Tektite I've used. I don't understand why that would be called such a powerful crystal by people, because these are supposed to be the most powerful crystals around, or when you use them together, they, this is why they're called Synergy 12. They work synergistically. I can do up a video at some point in time, if I can speak. I've got so much happening, more specifically to what this actually means. But I will say a big but, okay? In the process of doing some research, because I'm very cynical, I have to say, as much as I'm into metaphysical, I'm very much a person that encourages people to develop their own understanding, experiences, and knowledge, and not just take for granted because you read it somewhere or somebody said or you heard that this is gospel, okay? And I think we're finding that out. I actually mention it more in my transcripts on the Phenacite slide. So I'll leave that point for over there, that it's different experiences for different people. Same crystal, different experience, that kind of thing. And just use your own discretion. What I did find, though, with the Synergy 12, as much as I would recommend and encourage people buying certain crystals based on my experiences with them, Phenacite is up there as one of them, but it's not up there for somebody else as one of the ones to use. They're more into Moldavite. My personal position on Moldavite is I'm neither here nor there. That's what I mean by different strokes for different folks. If I had to chop my arm off and sell it for either Phenacite or Moldavite, I'd go for the Phenacite as opposed to the Moldavite, because as I say, it's just what works for you and what doesn't. And of course, I'm not going to chop my arm off to get a piece of crystal. Anyway, where I'm going with this is back on track. By the way, that's Australian humour coming out. I don't know if everybody can appreciate it. Said dryly. Anyway, back to the Synergy 12. What I saw was they were first mentioned in a book called The Book of Stones by Robert Simmons and a lady called Nasha. I think the pronunciation is probably incorrect. Ahsian, ASEAN, right? Is a book where Synergy 12 was first mentioned, about how these crystals can work interactively. But what I also saw as a response by just a member of the public, saying that the people that authored this book, they had somewhat of a vested interest, or, well, one of them did, that Robert Simmons actually owns a zestulite, as in, so you can see here, this is on the top list on the second column, right up the top. A zestulite is apparently a brand name, and I'm not quite sure what crystal it is, but certainly that would be something that I would, if I was to do a video on it, I would explore that. What is it? It might just be clear quartz by a fancy name because it's been sourced in a particular area where the owner of the mine site wants to promote it as being special and different from other places. To some extent, we can say the same with Numite, because as much as I love Numite, the stuff that comes out of Greenland, it's all the mineral makeup and components is the same as the stuff that you get out of Canada, for example. Slight variations on the appearances, I think, is the difference. Well, that was my conclusion. So I would need to do a video on a zestulite to check that out. The other thing that I saw somebody who, so I'll say this is allegations. When it comes to the Synergy 12, the argument was that Robert Simmons has got a vested interest in marketing as Iolite and creating this concept of Synergy 12, and that the female author, who was the co-author, she is now a born-again Christian and basically against anything to do with crystal and metaphysical properties, stuff like that. So just worth bearing in mind. So what I did manage to get loaded this week was actually the video on Phenacite, and I want to draw people's attention to it and acknowledge that Ilya has put up a great response. It's rather a lengthy one, of his experiences, his understanding, and also tips for working with Phenacite. And this is where I would actually like to see the channel go, is people feeling comfortable to put up their own experiences. And Ilya is very clear for him. I think his preference is for Midnight Lace Obsidian. Now, if you've watched Midnight Lace Obsidian, you will understand that for me it wasn't such a great experience. It wasn't a negative one, but my preference out of those two is actually for Phenacite. Which once again comes back to that different strokes for different folks. But I just want to acknowledge Ilya here for his contributions with a big thank you. Because obviously I'm a little short on time and struggling to remain focused to get my tasks done at the moment. And so I'm being a little bit lazy, shall we say. But thank you, Ilya. So, of course, as previously stated, Iolite is up there as a priority video for me to load, and I should hopefully be finished that today so it can be loaded tomorrow. To be honest, I would have preferred to wait until I actually get the Iolite arrive, because I haven't actually meditated with it in the past. I used to have it as part of my jewelry collection because it's a very pretty crystal, to be honest, and I love them. And as mentioned, this is part of that Synergy 12 as well. So I think it would be worth having meditating with it and trying to tap into those attributes that it's got. The same with Tanzanite, actually. Tanzanite is another really beautiful blue crystal. And in fact, I had a pair of earrings that were Iolite and Tanzanite together. And I can't say I actually noticed anything energetically from wearing them. I just really love them. But at the same time, I think it's once again worth meditating with them to see, or to, I guess, measure the experiences and how it interacts with the person, or how your energy interacts with it. They definitely would be, without me doing the videos, I still haven't finished doing the transcripts for them, but both of these would actually work with the brow and the throat chakra. I might actually look to get some more earrings or even a pendant with the Tanzanite, because it's just a stunning crystal if you can get it. It can be pricey. I've got to let you know that and Iolite, they can be pricey because they're rare. So, my friends, that is it for today's yarning, or have a yap, or have a chat, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to take my leave, as they say, and really try and get on to the other transcripts for the YouTube videos, because I know that I'm going to be busy this week again as well, and I want to get the YouTube videos done so that I can then really put the focus of attention on completing the website upgrades and developments. But in the meantime, I'm going to say yet again, thank you for being part of my journey. Do have a wonderful, glorious day, blessed week. I'll catch you on the next video. Take care. Bye-bye for now.